Welcome back to Edgework here on the Hammer Betting Network, a daily live NHL show Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You can find us here live giving out our daily best bets as well as previewing the games for that night. And you can find every Wednesday our new podcast with David Pagnotta, Dennis Bernstein, and Zach Bodenstein as they look around the league, break down the newest rumors and trade opportunities, as well as looking ahead at some of the player and team future markets. So make sure to check that out every Wednesday. These all come out on on all podcasting platforms as well as Edgework. But guys, the Super Bowl has wrapped up. Now it's just time to focus on hockey, basketball, and get ready for baseball as that season approaches. So things become a little bit more refined as we go down the stretch here of the NHL season and into the playoffs. But I mean, so Money, we'll start with you. How was your Super Bowl Sunday?
It was very good. We're just talking to the guys earlier about we had access to a book who was putting up player props live, and it wasn't based on the game situation. It was just based on what the score of the game was. So there was a lot of opportunities there that we were able to pick off as like the game was going on. But yeah, it was a very good Super Bowl for us.
And Alex, how was your Super Bowl?
It was pretty good. For the most part, it was kind of a hockey-themed weekend because my podcast, the Ice Guys, did a marathon, literally going from 11 a.m. to about midnight on Saturday. So that led right into all the football festivities yesterday. And interesting game. I had the over, so that was super enjoyable. Lost a couple of props, but I've gotten smaller and smaller with my units over the years. In the Super Bowl, I used to have a lot of props, especially when I'd have like parties and stuff. I have props and have like little side pools and stuff going on, but it's been kind of low volume as far as the Super Bowl. I've treated it just like it is. It's one football game in the microcosm of the season. So, did okay to wrap up the season. Had a nice football season, but now it's all hockey moving forward for me, basically.
Did either of you guys do any of the cross-sport props? Any NHL Super Bowl crossover props yesterday?
Yeah, I did. I did the one that Rob and Andy were talking about in the Vegas game. So, yeah. So that's the only one I did.
Very nice. Yeah, those are interesting last week to look at. So it's like the one opportunity this season you get where you kind of get one big thing to look forward to at the end of the day, and all your stuff's kind of finished in the morning by the time you get there. But those are interesting markets that I was shown for the first time essentially this year. So I thought that was pretty cool to break them down and look into them.
Some of them are very creative too. I think it'd be fun to like sit and like make those and like line them and stuff. So I think I'll be giving more attention to that next season.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's get to today's games. We've got a bunch back here as the NHL starts to get back into action, heading down the stretch to the trade deadline as well as the playoffs here. So we will start with the Calgary-Ottawa game tonight. Calgary right now is currently just sitting outside of a wild card spot. They're tied with Minnesota for points, both sitting at 60. They've played one more game than the Wild have at this point, and Calgary is 5-4-1 in their last 10. They just coming off a win against the Sabres, a big win, 7-2. This team is 11-9-8 on the road, so not the greatest road team here, going up to face a Senators team who has now had to come out and say, yeah, we're not looking at trading DeBrincat at this deadline, reevaluate options in the offseason, and they're 5-5 in their last 10. Basically, at this point, the hopes for the playoffs have come completely to an end for the Ottawa Senators. 14-12-1 at home for the Sens on this season. So not a great home team either. But so Money, something was piquing your interest, might be out of range now. But what were you looking at in this Calgary Senators game?
So we did play Calgary earlier. I think that the average price that we got was about 125. This is one of those things where I've talked about Calgary quite a bit. They're an enigma to me here because I don't think that they're playing very poorly. I think that they've been unlucky in a lot of results they get, and they also don't get the goaltending that they need from anyone other than Dan Vladar. So I'm a little concerned that we may get stuck with Markstrom here again. But in terms of Ottawa, I don't understand what their plan is, right? So you're out of the playoffs. Dorian has been saying that um, he's not going to be a seller, and I don't understand why. If they have some good pieces, if like there's guys there who are in their no trade clause, if they're willing to waive it, like why wouldn't you sell at this point? So, and of course, Ottawa's without both their goaltenders. I think I've made it clear I'm very, very high on Anton Forsberg. I think he's kept them in a lot of games, and with him out, we'll probably end up with Sogard and net. Not a lot of sample size with him. He played 2 games last year. Average, not not terrible, but he is a downgrade. So we did play Calgary, out of range now, but if Markstrom does start, that will dip a bit. At least it should, and then maybe there'll be an opportunity for Calgary later on.
All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Max Sogard. Yeah, he's confirmed for Ottawa, and his numbers in the AHL aren't that great. 6.9 and 2 is a 8.98 save percentage. That's awfully low even for AHL standards. So yeah, that is a bit of a drop off, and so maybe you could look at, like I said, obviously waiting to see who's in net for Calgary, whether it be Vladar or Markstrom. But I think a lean maybe even towards regulation would be something to consider with Calgary. Like I think it's a big enough drop off with Sogard and Ottawa pretty much kind of being one of the first teams to officially say that they're out of the playoff race as well.
And if you're looking at that on Pinnacle right now, you can find Calgary in regulation. Looks like plus 112 is available. So if that was something anybody watching is interested in, that is available. But make sure to shop around, get the best price on anything you're going to bet. We won't lock that in, leave that as a lean there for the game tonight. But moving on to another game, the Florida Panthers heading to take on the Minnesota Wild. Just mentioned Calgary is sitting just outside of wild card spot, tied with the Wild. So the Wild are going to look to continue to add some points here to try to see if they could break away from Calgary, as they do have that game in hand on them. So this Florida team going in there still out of a playoff spot. They are 2 points back of the Islanders right now and have a game in hand on them. And then the playoff teams, Pittsburgh and Washington, they're 3 points back of Pittsburgh, 4 points back of Washington. 5-3-2 in their last 10 for Florida. Going up to face a Minnesota team in Minnesota here tonight who is holding on to that second wild card spot. They are 4 points up on Nashville with 2 more games played than them. They are tied with Colorado in points and have played 1 more game. 4-6 in their last 10. This Minnesota team has dropped off a little bit, but with that Western Conference being as open as it is, it looks like anybody could kind of get in and stay in at this point. Alex, between Minnesota and Florida here tonight, is there one way or you would lean, or is there anything you'd be looking at in this game?
I'd probably be running back to the draw. That's what I had with Minnesota and New Jersey the other night. And of course, New Jersey's been an overtime machine. Basically, it seems like I think 7 of the last 8 have gone to overtime or shootout. But this Minnesota team, They look bad, even though they got the win and it went all the way to a shootout. This is still a struggling Wild team, and in the midst of one of their longest homestands of the year, and this is a team that usually plays very well at home. They still have not been able to find their footing. Maybe they can do it tonight against the Florida team that's been a bit shaky in their own right, but I think it's going to be a kind of a close battle. And these are two teams, like I said, fighting for their wild card lives in their respective conferences. If this game's tied at 2-2 or 3-3 with about 5 or 6 minutes left in regulation, you can tell the teams are probably just going to sit back a little bit, be more conservative, and try to get that first point in the standings to go for that second point in overtime. So plus 340, I like to draw it.
All right. Do you want to play that as an official play here on Edgeworks?
Yes,
Money? All right. We will take that then. So, Money, do you have any thoughts on this game?
I do. Man, these gambling bots are the worst. They just like show
Yeah,
up.
I know.
I just looked up and I got a bunch of for this game, I need to see who's in net for the Wild. I completely agree with everything Alex was saying in terms of what this Minnesota team is right now. I did have them on Saturday, and was very lucky to get that win. I don't think that they looked good. And what's also concerning is that was that was one of those situational elements that come up in the NHL sometimes, where there is some narrative behind it, in the sense that this was a game that was kind of hyped up in the Minnesota camp. Everybody was looking for this game and trying to step up their game. And that being said, that's the performance that you came up with. So that's a little concerning to me. And it wasn't Florida's a good. Sorry, New Jersey's a good team, right? So it wasn't as if Minnesota was playing a cupcake and they came up with a performance like that. But it's still concerning the way they played. For this game, I if we do get Gustafson in net, then I will be passing this game. If we get Fleury in net, then I'll be looking at Florida. The numbers right now, um, where it's painted on the board, if Fleury starts, then I would take those numbers on the Panthers. If not, then I'll be sitting this one out.
Okay. We'll move on from that one there. Another game tonight with a team that's looking to make playoffs. Arizona heading to take on the Nashville Predators, who, as I had mentioned, are sitting just behind the Minnesota Wild there and outside of a playoff spot as it stands right now, but making a push recently as Nashville has won 6 and 4 in their last 10. They just beat the Flyers 2-1. They are a 14-8-3 home team right now, 4 points back of Calgary, 2 points back, or 4 points back of Minnesota as well. This is a team that, I mean, you got goaltending. If you can find a way to just string together some wins, you could find yourself sitting in a playoff spot, and a good opportunity tonight against the Arizona Coyotes to do so, taking on Arizona at home. So, Money, is there either way you would lean in this one?
No, this is a game that I'm completely staying away from. We might get a Lankinen start, so maybe Nashville gets pushed down a bit. But other than that, I've got no interest in this game.
Yeah, for me, it'd be a lean toward Nashville team total and the over. Like I said, it could be a Lincoln sighting for Nashville. And even with Vemelka, I mean, obviously it seems like he's playing, in kind of an audition role that he's going to get moved at some point. I think the teams that definitely need some backup goaltending help will be trying to actively grab him, just like they are for Jacob Chitrin, who more likely will be out. We saw him healthy scratch over the weekend, as it seems like a trade is evident, be it LA or Edmonton or some team that's gunning for him. So missing your top defenseman, possibly having your top goalie distracted, and a Nashville team that's, like you said, right on the outside of a wild card spot, playing at home where they typically tend to do better. I think this might be one of those games they come out kind of a bit hot. So I lean toward their team total, lean toward the full game, but nothing official.
All right, let's see what we've got here for the head-to-head. Our head-to-head of a Monday show. we're going to go to the Detroit-Vancouver Canucks game. I won't do too much teeing up here because I know both of you guys have opinions on this game, opinions on sides. So, Alex, I'll let you take this away. Detroit-Vancouver, what side are you looking at here?
So it's funny. I was talking about this on Saturday, how weird of a spot this is to have Vancouver basically playing at 9 a.m. internal start clock time at Detroit, and then wrap up a road trip, then come back home, play that same Detroit team. You don't see that happen. You see home and homes often, but you don't see that kind of situation of a Saturday afternoon flipping to a Monday night cross-conference, cross-country. And I've said I liked Detroit at home. I'm sorry, I actually liked Vancouver on the road, and I said I like flip it and play Detroit when they get on the road. I think Vancouver coming home off of successful win and now the back-to-back spot, I think this lends itself to a good situational spot for Detroit. Vancouver is the better of the two teams, but I just think situationally, I think I could just see where Detroit comes out early, gets a jump, and just hold on to the lead. And we know how Vancouver has kind of been up and down with, either blowing a lead or trying to come back from the lead. It's been helter-skelter with them at times. I think Detroit can kind of get things rolling early and control the momentum for most of this game.
All right. And so, Money, you're on the opposite side of this one. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be betting the Canucks tonight. It's one of those things where I've mentioned this about the Canucks before. Like I don't think that they're playing poorly. They're just not a good team, and they're not and they're not getting the goaltending either. I agree with Alex on Saturday. That was a really tough spot for the Canucks. And some narratives here after that game against the Islanders, where the team mentioned how emotional that game was, and then you turn around, you got a early start in Detroit, 9 o'clock our time. So yeah, that was a tough situation for the Canucks. Now, usually you have one day off an Eastern road trip. It's not that great of a situation, but um, it's not like they're playing a team who's also playing well. So um, I'm a little concerned um, with with the Canucks in terms of how they're going to respond off a road trip like that. They've shown that sometimes they tend to lay eggs at home in this spot, but um, I'm not I'm not worried about Detroit. So I will be laying on the Canucks here. In terms of who starts for the Canucks, it doesn't matter. They both stink, so we're just hoping that one of them has a good game. I think the Canucks are playing well for the most part. I think without Raymond for Detroit, it does drop off quite a bit for them. So let's go Canucks, I guess.
Okay. And so no official play on this one for the Edgerick account, as we do have the head-to-head there, but we will track this one and we'll remember for next Monday what went on. And if there's any more head-to-heads, we'll keep track of that as the rest of the season moves forward. But one final game here tonight, and it is a game that we do have a play in. The Buffalo Sabres on the road to take on the LA Kings. Lots of trade rumors surrounding the Kings right now, whether or not they are trading for Chychrun. One of the best things to see online is the insiders and reporters go back and forth. You see yesterday a report comes out that an LA Kings deal for Jacob Chychrun has to involve Brandt Clarke, and then you immediately hear that Brandt Clarke has been informed that he is not being traded, and his agent confirms he's not being traded. So wondering what's going on there and what's happening with Jacob Chychrun and where he'll be on the move to. But LA is definitely a possibility, and that team right now holding on to the first wild card spot in the West. They are 5 points up on Minnesota, and they are 5-4-1 in their last 10, 15-9-2 at home. So about a 500 team at home, taking on a Sabres team who is pretty good on the road, 15-7-2. They won their 5-3-2 in their last 10. Alex, what do you like in this Sabres Kings game tonight?
Yeah, I expect scoring early and often. This is a Sabres team that has cashed 6 of the last 7 games, the first period over. LA 7 of their last 9. Like I said, two teams that, we've seen some shaky goaltending from Buffalo. LA needs some defensive help. This game screams like it's going to be a first period over, and more likely looking at the full game over as well. But I want to make the first period over official. Over 2 plus $1.10 for the first period between Sabres and Kings.
All right. And if you do shop around, you will be able to find that there are some 120s sitting out there right now, but 110 seems to be widely available for people, 112 as well. So we will lock those in.
And have you seen a price of 160 or higher? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but if you've seen a price in that 160, 170 range of 1.5, I would suggest waiting and maybe grabbing that number lower around 130, 135 in game. I think you have enough time to bet in game with the first 3-4 minutes. There won't be a goal, and you can cash in on that at a lower price.
All right. So, Money, any thoughts on this game tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna tail Alex on his first period over. I'm also Buffalo. You mentioned them earlier, though, the way that they what's Andy saying in there? You mentioned Buffalo earlier, how they play on the road. Yeah, they've gotten wins in Boston, in Dallas, in Winnipeg. They 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 are a good they do play well on the road. I do need to see in this case as well who's going to be starting in goal. UPL has, as shaky as he has looked recently, is still the better option there. So I do need him in order to play Buffalo, and I also, um, if we do get Quick in net, um, I don't know if we will, but that would put me on Buffalo as well. The other thing I'm waiting for in this game is that if this Chikrin deal is imminent, and if he is going to LA, I would like to see who's going to be going off that roster.
Right.
So that'll be another thing to keep in mind. It kind of feels like trade deadline day here, where there's not much to do until we know who's going to be on the team. So I lean towards Buffalo right now. If I get the goaltending, then I will be on them.
So, as you're approaching the trade deadline here, it's obviously a possibility that guys could be pulled from lineups, could be taken out for precautionary reasons, whatever it is, like we saw with Chikrin shortly before that game on Saturday night where he was announced that he wasn't going to be playing. As we approach the trade deadline, do you guys have to take into account the lineups differently than you would throughout, say, the first 50-something games of the season? Do you take them more cautionary? Do you wait later in the day to make plays? Like, how do you kind of go about that when you know you're going to be looking at a team who could potentially be pulling guys at any moment for trade leading up to the deadline?
For me, when it's a top player, like let's say like a Timo Meyer or Erik Karlsson with the Sharks, I treat it like a goaltender confirmation. So I gotta wait, and that if that means I'm waiting until an hour or before puck drop, so be it. But I gotta wait and see, because those guys mean so much to that lineup, just like a goaltending change. So when it comes to those kind of trades, or if I expect cluster trades with a certain team, then I want to wait and see, because the next 2 or 3 guys, even though they're not of high impact, but if 2 defensemen get pulled or 2 guys on the same line get pulled out, then that can shake things around enough to where maybe I want to be off of a side or stay away from a game altogether.
Yeah, I treat it the same way Alex does as well. I just need to know. The other thing too is that this is when reading comprehension really comes into play, where you really got to know what the team's thought processes are. If they're saying that they're not doing anything, or like there's nothing happening, like you got to be able to jump on those kind of quotes. Or if like what's his name, Darren Dreger or someone comes on TV and says that there's some deals imminent, and like then you want to keep on top of that as well. So like Alex said, you treat it like a goaltending confirmation, or you treat it like a coach has come out and said that a certain player is day to day. So now you need to wait if he's going to be in the lineup or not. So you wait until warm ups for that confirmation. So I do approach it differently. A lot more reading involved, and a lot more keeping your kind of thumb on the pulse there.
Yeah, and be careful of fake Twitter accounts.
Yes,
every single deadline. It's annoying when people do that. I wish it would stop,
yes.
but it eventually happens.
Especially now too, with like
Twitter
people
blue.
getting the check mark.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
Yeah.
And these gambling bots get me rattled, man. I just got another one.
Really?
Yeah, they are insane, popping up on absolutely everything that you do at all times, firing out tweets. It is ridiculous. The gambling bots that are out there. Those things need to stop. That's for sure. All right. Good luck to everyone on your bets tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully, everyone that tails this is able to get some winners here tonight, as we are up 45.5 units on the year, 8.1% ROI. So the Edgeworth crew has been doing very well so far this season. We'll look to keep that going here tonight with two best bets. We got the money line regulation time draw in the Florida Panthers Minnesota Wild game plus 343, as well as the first period over 2 in the LA Kings Sabres game tonight. And then keep an eye out for goalie news and some of the other games, as you may get some movement on those lines and something might become in play for you as we get more announcements throughout the course of the day. But thank you to everyone who tuned in. If you enjoyed the content, please make sure to subscribe to the Edgework YouTube channel. You can like this stream as well, and stay aware for when the Wednesday podcast with David Pagnotta, Dennis Bernstein, and Zach Bodenstein drops. As we approach the trade deadline, that show will become way more exciting with all the different trades and rumors that they'll be breaking down and looking at how it might impact some of the futures markets, whether it be for player futures or team, division, conference, Stanley Cup futures, whatever it is. So make sure to tune into that every Wednesday. You can find us here on YouTube live Monday through Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can find us back on the podcast after on all podcasting platforms. So Money, Alex, thank you guys so much. I'll see each of you later in the week, and I'll see you both back here on Monday. But for everyone else, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Good luck on your bets tonight.